Happy Friday, Chef. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Like you said, I know you had a busy week. You guys are going to see this face all over some stuff coming from this week. And it's duly deserved. A mutual friend introduced us just a couple weeks back, and we had a nice little phone chat. And just in that phone chat, I'm like, this is an amazing human being doing amazing things. And it follows in the line of like who we are for the magazine, but who I am for a person, and you know, our worlds are there, and it's so wonderful to see. I'm gonna go ahead and say that word, community, of everybody doing their part in the different ways. You know,
Yes.
there has to be the farmer and the fisher person and the
Absolutely.
forager and the beekeeper. There has to be the winemaker and the beer maker. There has to be the chef. There has to be the this. There has to be the that. They're the people who write about it to get it out there. All the little bits to keep just the whole cycle going.
Absolutely.
And we're all in it together to try to, you know, that high tides, all ships. And this is how we do it, you know.
Yes.
We're going to dive right in here in a second, but let's go a little bit of history with you. You know, you've been on the sushi game for 2 decades-ish?
Almost, yes. So I'm from Los Angeles originally, born and raised. I moved up here in 2017. My first job was the hybrid CDC for Bamboo at the time. They wanted me to oversee the kitchen and sushi bar and bring a little bit more of Japanese influences, a little bit more of the philosophies behind Japanese cooking.
Sure.
So I did that for a couple of years, and then I started at Zilla Sake, took over as head chef in February of 2020, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So during that time, Kate, who's my partner outside of work as well, we really didn't want to do sushi for to-go. Zilla wasn't doing sushi for 6 years prior to that. We wanted to showcase our quality of fish in person, not in a box where possibly an Uber driver or someone can mess it up, or someone lets it sit too long in the car and then they get home and they're like, it was kind of pricey for the quality of the food. So we started doing more Japanese comfort food, but it was so early on during COVID that I think people didn't really understand how the virus was transmitted, so no one was really getting food, everyone was staying at home. And so we switched concepts from doing more of the comfort food to doing bento boxes. And it started to kind of pick up. People kept asking about sushi, so we brought a little bit of fish on. But as we all know, when you get a product in, there are also parts of the product where you can't use specifically for sushi and sashimi, or you know, for steaks. So with the trimmings, we have to do something else. So 4 fish turned into 10 things on the menu.
Right.
And it just slowly grew from there. And fortunately, Zilla's still there, and I'm blessed to be able to not only be the head chef there, but operate Aji out of there during the week to showcase dry aging fish, how it's applicable in more than just sushi, and being able to reach out to other people and educate them.
Yeah, that whole fish thing, you know, whole animal, whole fish, whole plant, like all of it, the zero waste game. I was watching, you know, Eli Cairo talking about that from their standpoint of how do we, not only for a financial sustainable, like we're paying a lot for this, like let's do this, but also let's honor this.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the piece to it. And then you just hit the other big key, education. Like, that's it. And I know you have some very wonderful ideas about where you want to go here.
Yes.
Your 5-year plan, or your 2-year plan.
There's a lot that I want to accomplish, for sure.
That is exactly that, of teaching the people what to do, a fixed income. Don't be stuck with non-food. Spend some money on this. And then, you know, you talking about that with me was wonderful to hear you say that from your background, knowing the importance of that.
Yes.
And like, let's gotta pay it forward.
It's exciting. I just got in contact with a person out in Portland, OIC. We had a conversation last night. I'm supposed to go see the facilities in a couple of weeks. And their program is geared towards helping at-risk youth and at-risk elders to teach them a trade that they can utilize out in the field. And what makes it great about that facility is they also pay their students to be there, which gives them some money in their pocket, which allows them to, whether it's practice what they've learned in the program or how that to eat, to pay bills or what have you. So that fell right alongside of what I wanted to do in the future. Coming from not the most affluent family, I understand what it's like to, be excited that the family dinner outing is at McDonald's on Tuesday for 25-cent cheeseburgers. So the education piece where being able to stretch the dollar is really important. And I feel like a lot of times people in low-income housing or people who are in not the best neighborhoods, they're not provided the education, and the youth aren't given the tools to be able to be successful. And so creating these programs or being able to give back to the community is really important if we want our community to survive. If we don't want to have so much diversity and we want to be able to come together in all walks of life, the education is important, whether it's at school or if it's just livelihood and being able to cook for yourself. That's something that a lot of people don't do anymore. They don't know how to cook an egg. They don't know how to grill a piece of meat. And these are really important things in life where sometimes some families aren't lucky enough to have both parents at home. So when a single parent is out at work and you might have a couple siblings, you're going to have to cook for them. And this is where the education comes in.
Yeah, I mean, that's just rock star level stuff. That makes me smile, and I can feel Dean smile from behind the camera. It's like, that is what it is about, for everybody in this room, having been in the culinary, in the kitchen, and used to are, it's interesting how we get there or got there. It's interesting when we're going through it, and then, like for Dean and I on the back side of it, looking back, what brought you to it, how you got there and how you looked at it, and at what point in time you're like, am I chasing stars? Am I chasing point? Right. Am I chasing this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And if I lost sight of that,
Right.
Also getting a post somewhere to get more, visuals on that, to get the word out, to make the impact, it's an interesting thing. And just to hear you say that and see that you're doing that, it's just amazing, man. So just kudos to you.
Thank you.
That's just like I said, that's rock star stuff, and that's hero stuff right there.
We just had to get more people, more people to get involved and start doing that. I think it's important.
And this is a town for it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. You and I are both transplants from that state down to the south, and there's a lot of us up here, But part of my draw to Portland, what's going on, is that sense of community and the outside the box thinking and the future forward thinking, just like you're talking about. How we're in this together. How do we take care of each other?
Yes.
And how do we get that roadmap and that education training laid down for the future and what's happening? Let's think about it, not just accept what's going on.
Right.
So that's what's great about Portland. We're like, don't know what you guys are doing out there and what's going on.
Sure. For now, we can start here.
Yeah.
And then we can build.
And then we can build.
Yeah.
And then we can build. The fish butchery and the aging of that. You probably have said this a bunch this week, but there's going to be some people who haven't seen that yet.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because a lot of people don't understand that, because they hear fresh, sushi and fresh, and they're like aged, and it's like, well, there's some there's some things,
nuances.
Yeah, there's some things that you want to follow here.
Absolutely.
Again, in honor and to bring the best forward. So the fish, going for the aging fish butchery and all that. Jump into that a little bit.
So the philosophy and what I like to tell people when it comes to fish is fresh is just the beginning. There's so many levels to what is considered fresh for fish. A lot of people think that the best quality fish is the first kill on the boat, take a piece off, dip it in salt, lemon, soy sauce, whatever you prefer, and eating it right there on the boat is the best way to have it. What people don't realize is when they go to a sushi restaurant, for example, when they're at a little bit more of a high-end sushi restaurant, most fish are aged, whether they age it at the restaurant or it's been aged before it's delivered. So, for example, a loin of tuna, you're going to see this, I like to talk with my hands, right? So I'm trying to control it.
Yeah, do it. Oh, no, you don't have to.
You'll see this loin, and on the loin, there's a portion of it where it's really dark. And that dark, we call it the bloodline. But really what that is that portion of the tuna has been cooked by the spinal cord because of how warm that tuna runs underwater to keep warm and how cold that water gets. The blood flow running through there starts to essentially cook that portion of the tuna. So the texture is different there. A lot of people throw that away, but you can actually treat it like short ribs and do a hard sear and braise it, and you'll have what they call chiai. That's the Japanese term for the bloodline. And with the tuna, usually when you get it from a purveyor, it's already going to be dark. But if you get it fresh, overnighted, that line is vibrant red. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's the usable meat and what's the bloodline. And so some restaurants, whether it's in Japan or across the country, they'll take that block of tuna or that loin and then they'll immediately put it in a dry ager or any kind of controlled environment to let it rest a bit more, because the amino acids over time will break down the protein and it matures in flavor. And so when you have something so fresh kill, you might get a firmer texture on the fish because it hasn't gone through the rigor mortis process, but there's not much flavor there. And I think that's where the misconception of this fish is really fishy, but you're eating fish. So it's gonna taste like fish, but it's understanding what type of fish it is and what flavor profiles you're looking for. So tuna can be a little bit minerally, a little bit irony. Something like salmon can be really creamy and buttery. And so during the dry aging process, a lot of those flavors amplify. So the salmon can get a almost like nutty note to it. And you push it further past 30 days, 40 days, you almost get like this really yeasty, kind of cheesy note to it, which is also really interesting depending on what your application is. So with that being said, I feel like the education is important, where a lot of people always ask at the sushi bar, like, what's fresh today? So my response, and I try not to sound like an a-hole when I say it, my question to them is, well, what do you consider fresh? And so when I ask them that, they seem to not really know how to answer that. They just assume, well, like, did it come in today? And it's like, it actually did not come in today. It came in 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, or actually it came in 3 days ago. And depending on what that fish is, the length of how long it's dry aging is important. And so while I talk to them about these things, they also then start to get more curious. Like, well, so what am I supposed to be expecting? What does it taste like? I'm like, well, you came to a place where we have a bunch of these at different days and different stages. So if you order a salmon, it'll be 21 days. If you order something like a gizzard shad, it might be 3 days. And so it all just depends on the fish and that excitement and the education. And once they understand, there's a deeper level of appreciation that they receive at that point, because then they're like, oh, I see how this is really different than the salmon that I had down the street or at this other restaurant. And do you do anything different to it? It's like, no, it's, I don't add anything to it. I don't salt cure it. I just let time, temperature, and Mother Nature do its thing and let it just take its course.
Mother Nature, if we would just get out of the way. She's pretty awesome. She's gonna win eventually. She's gonna win.
Unless we mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. We are not doing well. I was out in wine country yesterday, and we were talking a lot, ag and farming and soil and all that. And this is just another. I'm like, Mother Nature, that's a big canvas of stuff that we need to be paying attention to.
Yes, definitely.
And moving into this, you're talking about the educational prospects of that when someone asks that question, and what a takeaway they're going to have as a guest. Like, they're going to remember that. Like, they didn't just get to eat and hang out with you and cool guy.
I'm more comfortable beyond the bar.
But they're going to learn something and take that away, which means something. And then they're going to talk about that.
Yes.
Like, hey, man, did you know this? Or what's going on? Or, I'm like, and that's what it's about. The revolution has begun.
Yes, definitely.
And the different fish, different days of aging. I know when we talked, you were talking about some that you've got hanging, and how it took you a little while to figure out these and these periods and this amount of days, and knowing that for each different species. I mean, that has to be quite a journey and an educational. Like, that's a that's not easy to come by.
Yes.
You're not getting that out of a book. You know?
Definitely not.
That is not a YouTube.
Luckily, I never
learning
got sick.
thing. Yeah.
I've definitely got to a place where I'm like, well, I don't really like the texture of this. This is a little too dry, or I felt like it's been X amount of days. I don't see any changes in this. The only changes that I've noticed is it's shrunk way too much now. It's too concentrated in flavor, and so serving it for sushi or serving it raw might be a little too intense for people unless that's what they're looking for, or if there's bolder components to pair with it to tame it a little bit. So definitely going like 10 days, try it. I like it. 11, it's all right. 21, this is good.
Okay.
35, I don't see much of a difference. 40, ooh, that's a little funky. And let's pare it back down to 21, 25. No, let's stick to 21. And so it's definitely been a process.
That's just, it's fascinating to me. And for a guy who's been around the West Coast and Northwest, even in Alaska for a while, and literally around fish as much as I have, it is so interesting to me how much I learned after not being around it. And, even in a post-kitchen situation, how many more things that I learned. And just when you talk about that experience, you just think about that. I mean, we're up here, Salmon Street, surrounded by wine tasting rooms, sitting in one. Thank you, LJ. And, one shot a year in wine, cider too. The beer guys have it pretty easy. They're like, oh, we can fix
Fill
that.
it back up.
Yeah, 2 weeks, we'll be all right. We can have that done. The accountants love it anyway, that just taking the time to do that and learn that, and it's your passion. It's clear. I mean, it's absolutely clear. The fish butchery opened during the day.
Correct.
And where are we? So let's go ahead and self-promote and get an address out there.
I'm the head chef at Zilla Sake. So I've reduced my hours there to just Tuesday and Saturdays. And so Wednesday through Friday, I'm open inside Zilla. Starting next week, I will be offering a pretty casual counter service dining in, water stations and all of that. But I wanted to operate during the day because in the evenings, we're still open for service.
Sure.
And then also I want to provide the same quality of fish for people to be able to take home.
Yeah.
When you go to the restaurant, you're not only paying for the product of the food, but you're paying for the service, the ambiance, the pairings, the experiences you get with the chefs. And the retail aspect is so that they can take that away, take it home, have it with their family, and it won't cost restaurant prices because you're solely buying the product. And you just take that home and have fun. Try out your fish skills, cutting it and, cooking it. Exactly. You're going to find ways that works for you, and you can also even ask me, can you just slice it up for me? And I have no problem doing that.
Sure. And it's back to that sustainable thing on the financial front. Might as well use that real estate.
Yeah.
For a restaurant. It's
absolutely.
Like, if we're here, like we're paying for it.
I mean, it's always good, I feel like, to start small, right? You start small because if you start out here, then the expectation is going to want more from here. So, once you already hit the ceiling from day one, I mean, where are you going to go?
Where do you go?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start off Olympian, Oscar, Grammy, whatever we want to say.
Right,
where do you go from there? And
exactly.
It's like, start off. And there's something that's intimate about that, like that. A little bit more direct connection is there. And I think with something like this, and in the fish world, and this preparation of the fish world, I think that, I'm going to use the word intimacy, a little bit more one-on-one, is a little bit more important.
I agree.
It's like, you're playing with something, this isn't just some stuff we bought, it's great, and we're going to put it on the grill, and I'm like, you could be screwing it up depending on, because, this is grilling to everyone. And I'm like, Dana and I talk about this all the time. I'm like, leave things alone.
Don't touch it. Put it down. Let it go.
Yeah, put them in the pan, put them in the oven, whatever, and walk away.
And I do like the small aspect because I feel like the people that are coming now to pick up at Aji, I recognize them now.
That's awesome.
And I'm building relationships with people who, when they first came in, their newborn was, I think they said 8 weeks, 7 weeks.
Oh yeah.
They came in today, 10 weeks, you know, and so that relationship, that bond that you start to build, and that trust that they start to have, you know, they first started a little standoffish, got some bento boxes to go.
Sure.
Then they were like, you know, it's really good. Like, I kind of want to buy a trout. And today they're like, which one of these salmons do you want me to get? And I'm like, I think that one's probably the better cut. They're like, I'll take that.
I'll take that.
Yeah. And so that trust, the education, the relationships that you build is really important. And I want people to feel comfortable coming in. You don't have to buy anything. Just come in, ask questions, learn something new, go home, maybe come back, buy something if you want. But at least by having those conversations, you know, one way or another, people are starting to learn and understand a bit more, whether they're scared of it or not. Yeah. So that's at least good to me.
And it's still service.
Yeah.
It's still the thing. You opened the butchery part, kind of a soft opening back in December?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And now it's there.
Now it's there, yep.
Yeah. 5 days a week, 7 days a week? What do you
it's 3 days for in-store retail, grab-and-go menu, and then Saturdays are pre-orders, pickup only.
Nice. Future stuffs.
There's a lot coming up.
There's a lot coming up.
Yes.
Probably some of you are like, I'm not going to talk about that.
Some stuff not quite yet we haven't solidified, but there are some stuff that I can talk about. The most recent event coming up right now will be the collaboration with Takibi.
Yes.
That's happening on the 2nd.
Yes.
For Winter Water. So it's 5 courses with each course containing Oregon albacore and Oregon seaweed. That's going to be a fun one. I have actually an event with Toby on the 10th at Acre Forge for Industry Night. So that's going to be fun. And then I'll also be participating in the Winter Water Speakeasy event on the 20th.
Nice.
So those are all happening in February. There's a couple stuff coming up months after that. But once that's solidified, I'll be able to talk more about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so cool, and it's so funny when you're listening off some of that, because I'm like, you know, yeah, we're talking to them too. You know, it's like you and it's so fun when you get to meet someone who's running in the same circle, just on other sides of it.
Yes,
you know?
yes,
It's
definitely.
Like, and you know, the girls in the Winter Waters thing. I mean, right out of the gate, it was like, I'm all behind this. I mean, I was still living in Newport at that time.
Okay.
And so that whole kickoff, and it was always something that was important to me, even when I had my little, you know, natural wine bar with all sustainable and organic food, no trucks bringing me anything. I had to go get everything, and I had foragers and all. I'm like, these are my people. We need to talk about this, from the fish to the this to the that, all the way through. I'm like, you can still go out and eat and drink, y'all. Yeah. And you can be healthy. Like, it can still happen.
Yes. Everything's a balance.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's there, provided for us.
Yeah.
Just treat it with respect and treat it with honor. I really think that you sharing your experience and sharing what's coming and how you've approached it and what you've learned, and then talking about that neighborhood and that community, those people that come in. I think in a lot of ways it's a lost thing and a lot of things that we see going on. I think we can apply the term fast fashion to a lot of things.
I mean, I think it's the patience aspect, right? I feel that nowadays people want immediate results. They need that like instant satisfaction and gratification. And I feel like a lot of people get into whatever industry it is, or even when it's just on a day-to-day basis, they don't want the journey. They want the trophy.
Yep.
I've fallen, guilty of that here and there as well. And I do feel that the journey is really important, because that's what also shapes you as an individual, and it shapes where you will ultimately end up. And if you don't take time to look back and see the accomplishments that you're making along the way, or really reflect on what you're doing and why you're doing it, it no longer becomes a passion. It becomes a job. My old chef asked us before, back in California, he says, do you know what a difference between a job and a career is? For a job, you show up and you clock in and you clock out. You do the bare minimum that you're asked to do, and you go home. A career is something that is part of your life. You are consumed in it, and you want to grow, you want to learn, you want to be the best at it. And once you realize that this is your career, you're really not working. You're learning still. And I felt that was a really impactful statement to be made.
Yeah, always. I'm always learning. I mean, hey, I went away from 30 plus years of food and wine to running a magazine that I had no idea what I'm doing.
That's still, it's still kind of in the same realm though, right? You might not be in the kitchen, but you're still involved with all that, and you also help bring people up and showcase them, and that's something that I feel a lot of people don't do. Everyone is in this, crab in a barrel mentality. Everyone's like, I need to get on top. I don't care who I step on. Why can't we all be happy for whoever is making it right now? Because as long as you are solid as a human being and you support other people, you will get the support that you need. But if you're going to sit there and gatekeep all the time, I mean, I feel bad for you. You know, like it's a very lonely place to be.
I was going to say it's very empty.
Yeah,
very much so. Very much so. Well, I look forward to chatting with you some more.
Yes.
Also, you guys, we're going to get some prints on this, and we're going to be getting it in the magazine, but I wanted to get with Chef, and get with Chef Jeff. He'd be the second one in my life. I wanted to get what this wonderful human's doing and get it out there and help support all of that. And I wanted to get that and get it out to all of you. And there's more to come. I mean, we're going to be seeing each other at some events for sure.
Absolutely.
And, we're going to get some stories and some stuff and continue that support of what you're doing, trying to do our part and our role to help get that word out so you can do the things that you love doing. So thank you for that phone call that day. Thank you for doing this.
This is all my pleasure.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Go see Jeff, you guys, at the Fish Butchery. Go to Zilla. Go to some of these events. We'll list them up too. I'm sure most of you already know about some of them or are going. Some of you are the ones running them. Hey. But we'll be getting this one up next week. We're gonna keep them rolling, and you talked about putting that ceiling up there. Mm-hmm. When you have conversations like this, it's like we're luckily there's some great people and all assets doing great things. But
forever building. You
get with someone like this, it puts a pretty high bar. So, and you're a busy guy, so I appreciate that. So
thank you.
Thank you guys for following. Go see Jeff. Go see him. Do all the things. Appreciate you all. Bees and water, y'all. We'll see you. Thank you.